Good morning. David Beers here, Beers and Gordon, Oviedo's personal injury law firm. I'm here today to talk a little bit about uninsured motorist coverage and what you may not know about your entitlement to uninsured motorist benefits. Occasionally we run into situations where clients call us and they have had a very serious crash which involved a motor vehicle that did something on the highway and to cause the crash that they were injured in, but that particular motorist left the scene. They may be what we refer to in the insurance industry as a phantom vehicle. Florida is a bit of an unusual state. If you have uninsured motorist coverage on your own vehicle, the one that was involved in the crash, you can make an uninsured motorist claim to recover for your injuries from your own insurance company based upon the fault of that motorist that left the scene. And this occurs even if you cannot determine or identify the vehicle itself. If you just have a generic description, you don't have a tag, you don't know the driver, all it takes, so to speak, is for you to be able to establish that your driving behavior was altered by the negligence of this phantom vehicle that left the scene. And for those individuals who have very serious accidents and serious injuries, this can be really a godsend. We recently had an example where a gentleman had a very serious accident on I-95 where a vehicle just merged into traffic directly in front of him when a semi was next to him. And as a result, he had to alter his driving. He ended up off the highway on I-95 at highway speed, 70 miles an hour, went down the embankment, hit several trees, ended up with a fractured femur, which of course is the hardest, largest bone in the body. And the gentleman, had the best medical care, was, airlifted to the hospital from a helicopter by the side of the interstate. And he thought, since he didn't know who it was, that motorist that pulled, there are no cameras in this area of I-95, so there was no way to determine who this person was that caused this. He thought there was no recovery. They didn't contact each other, but he was able to just barely avoid them. That is sufficient. Again, it's the alteration of his driving pattern, just going down the highway by the negligence of the so-called phantom vehicle. Well, he had protected himself and his family by purchasing uninsured motorist benefits, and we were able to make a claim and recover his full policy limits of several $100,000 to benefit his family and himself. The fact of the matter is, Florida law does not limit the proof of an uninsured motorist claim. Many states do. They require contact. Many states require that you report it as a hit and run within 24 hours. You don't have to do that in Florida. You do need to report it promptly to your insurance company that you were involved in an accident. Of course, your vehicle's probably going to be totaled, so they're going to know of the claim anyway. But you need to advise them that yes, it was caused by a phantom motorist, and you will have an opportunity to recover those benefits. And of course, needless to say, in the scenario that I discussed previously with the gentleman who was an executive for a car dealership, his initial claim was denied. He couldn't get this by himself. So fortunately, he knew someone who suggested they call us, and we were able to take the case. We actually got attorney's fees to prove that he was entitled to recover, in addition to our recovery for him for his damages that he suffered in the crash. Florida is, it's extremely important to have uninsured motorist coverage to protect yourself and your family. And the reason is that Florida has an unusual financial responsibility law. The financial responsibility law in Florida states that for you to have a tag that you can put on your vehicle so that you can drive it on the public highway, all you need is a policy of insurance which has property damage liability coverage of $10,000 at least, and no fault benefits. That's it. That's what we call a minimum policy. and it will let you drive legally on the highway, but you've not covered yourself at all for your liability if you're at fault and you cause injuries to someone else. And so as a result, somewhere on the order of 40% of the licensed and tagged drivers in Florida driving on our public highways every day, they're in that category of people who have no liability protection for you. So that if you're hit by one of those people, the only way you can protect yourself is to have uninsured motorist coverage, because it's designed to pay you as if the at-fault motorist had the amount of uninsured motorist coverage that you purchased for yourself. We frequently do receive inquiries from our clients about how they should adjust their insurance coverage based upon their ability to pay. And we always answer that you should have as much uninsured motorist coverage as you can afford to have. One of the keys about that is that you're going to have to carry liability insurance limits that are equivalent to what your uninsured motorist limits are. So for you to do that, obviously you're going to pay a higher premium for having the liability coverage. Let's say you have $50,000 per person, $100,000 per accident, which is a fairly standard kind of upper level coverage. And if you have that, then you can buy as much as $5,100 of uninsured motorist coverage. And the last thing is you should always, always, always insist that you have stacked uninsured motorist coverage. That means that if you're injured by an at-fault party who doesn't have enough insurance and you have serious injuries, you can add the uninsured motorist coverage, say of $50,000 you have on one car, you can add it to the other car you have insured in your household. So now you have $100,000 of UM coverage, and there's a very small premium for that. And the companies, the insurance industry doesn't really want you to ask for that, but you should, and you should buy it at all costs. So if you've been involved in an automobile accident, even if there are issues about insurance and whether or not uninsured motorist coverage may or may not apply, please call Beers & Gordon for a free consultation, as we do know these complicated insurance laws, and we will guide you through your decision making to get the full compensation that you're entitled to.